The conventional heavy fuels used to move massive ocean-going vessels are laden with sulfur oxides, diesel particulate matter, and carbon dioxide. That's not pleasant stuff, and it can lead to acid rain, harm crops, acidify oceans, and not incidentally impact human health. For example, shipping emissions contributed to 1,200 early deaths in the United States last year alone, disproportionately impacting low-income communities of color who live adjacent to ports and maritime terminals. That should not be acceptable. Recognizing these impacts, the International Maritime Organization, or IMO, has committed to reduce total annual greenhouse emissions from international shipping by at least 50% by the year 2050 from 2008 emissions levels. Additionally, just 2 weeks ago, the IMO's high seas maritime fuel sulfur emissions cap was reduced from 3.5% to 0.5% to protect air quality and human health. Ship owners, operators, refineries, and regulators like the Coast Guard have adapted to meet this new cap by burning cleaner, high-quality, low-sulfur fuels or by installing scrubbing technologies. The maritime industry has not taken on these restrictions merely for a challenge. They recognize rather that decarbonizing our global economy is a necessity and an opportunity. We are borrowing time from the next generation. The time for change is now, and I commend the maritime industry taking these initiatives. Charting its own path to decarbonize the maritime industry, the IMO requires operators to reduce carbon intensity by vessel, by unit of work, and across the industry as a whole. This will require investments in vessel efficiency, alternative fuels, alternative designs, clean shore power, and more. For ships to serve their planned lifetime and to meet the 2050 emissions reduction goal, vessels coming online after 2030 will need to be either zero-emission vessel or very low-emission vessels to assure that they can operate for their expected commercial life. We should ensure we have the capability to design, build, and operate those vessels here in the United States. Investing in innovative new technologies and clean maritime commerce is just one more opportunity we have to bring the American maritime industry into the 21st century, and one we cannot afford to miss. Indeed, the maritime community has risen to meet the challenge, although I must stress the U.S. can and should do much, much more. Today we hear from carriers, engineers, and industrial designers about the steps they've taken to reduce emissions, the challenges they've faced along the way, and what comes next along the path to a carbon-free, but no less efficient global maritime supply chain. I ask unanimous consent to insert statements from Green Marine, the Ocean Conservancy, Scripps Institute of Oceanography, and the Coalition for a Safe Environment into the hearing record, without objection. I'd now like to call on the ranking member, Mr. Gibbs, for any opening remarks.
Thank you, Chairman Maloney, and thank you to the witnesses for being here today. The International Maritime